7 o'clock, and can we have a public report of action taken?
In closed session, the board took up closed session items 1 and 2 and gave direction to staff and legal counsel. No reportable action.
All right, we move on to our open session. Board Secretary.
This portion of the agenda allows an individual the opportunity to address the board on any item not on the agenda during district business. State law prohibits the district from taking any action on any items not on the agenda unless authorized under section 54954.2 of the Government Code, and your matter may be referred to the general manager. An individual may also address the board on any agenda item at the time the matter is discussed and prior to board consideration or action. Speakers will be limited to 5 minutes. Your time will start when you approach the podium, and you'll be given a 30-second warning before your time expires. If you choose to ask a question during this time, any response by the board will not extend your time. Questions may be referred to the general manager to be answered at a later time after the meeting. In order to allow for a smooth and orderly meeting, and allow each speaker the ability to address the board, disruptions from the audience will not be tolerated, and you could be asked to leave. We appreciate your cooperation with this democratic process.
All right, now we go to public comments. Do we have anyone from the public that would like to address the board at this time?
On non-agenda items.
On non-agenda items. Would you come up to the microphone, please?
Yes, good evening. I'd like to make a comment on the little flyer that was in our water bill on the Measure A March 8th election. There was a series of 3 workshops or whatever on this a while back that I attended. And as I told them, I'd like to tell you, I think it's criminal with the limited amount of money this little town has that we are even contemplating spending $800,000 on parks and recreation when we don't even have a police station or adequate police force for this town. I think it's ridiculous. As a taxpayer too, I'm going to vote no on the thing, and that's kind of my reasoning. Also, I'm a little upset here. This flyer gets sent out is really deceptive. The little drawing you have on the bottom that shows, you know, one example of an option for a park. Those meetings I went to, the dog park alone, there was a consultant hired to come up with a budgetary analysis of all the ideas put forth. The dog park alone was $1 million. The amphitheater was way over $1 million. I started going through this little drawing. You're looking at a capital expenditure of $5 million plus. That's for a park in Rosamond. Like I say, we don't have a police department. I've been here 20 years. I don't use the parks. If I want, you know, recreation, I go in my backyard with my dog and enjoy there. You go in a park here, all we got is the homeless, gangbangers. It just goes on and on. I know a lot of my next door neighbors, you know, female, they're not going to the parks. It's unsafe. So I just wanted to comment on that. I think this is ridiculous to even be contemplating this. And I think more so than the fact of the parks, I think this is really coming down to a vote of no confidence on this board to properly manage and spend $800,000 of our money a year. That's what I want to say.
All right, thank you. Anyone else like to make any comments? All right, we'll move along to minutes. We get a motion to approve M1, M2, and M3. So moved. Second. Moved by Mr. Lennon, second by Mr. McKay. Is there anybody like to make a comment? Call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. We'll move on to the consent calendar.
Mr. President, I move on CC1, CC3, CC4, CC5, and CC6.
All right. Yeah, Mr. McKay makes a motion to approve CC1 through 6, minus 2 because of a related party. Mr. Williford seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. It's unanimous.
I'd like to make one comment. You got the reserve report on there. You can see now that we're up to almost $7.5 million in the reserves now. They're filling back up.
Thank you. Related party, I believe, is Mr. Lanscar.
Yes, I'll step out. The reason I'm stepping out is Carl's Hardware is owned by my brother and his wife.
All right, on our consent calendar, CC2.
Second.
Moved by Mr. McKay, seconded by Mr. Williford. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. For, Mr. Lansguard abstains. Mr. Lansguard? All right, at this time, we're going to open up a public hearing for the water conservation, PH1, and we're going to refer to the general manager on the discussion. Mr. Smith?
Yeah, we have one change that came out on posting. There was one correction that we made last time, and we just slipped through, or maybe we grabbed the wrong document that wasn't updated completely, and so on the one of the whereases on the ordinance, it says whereas on April 19th, 2019, and that should be 2016. So we'll change that to 2016, because that was ordinance 2016-2. So other than that, then the ordinance is like what you guys, including that change, was what you adopted last time, and not adopted, but introduced with that change, but for this posting, we forgot to, we missed that one change. So now it's just up for adoption.
All right. At this time, anyone in the public who would like to comment on ordinance number 2018
We'll open the public hearing.
Already.
You already did.
Oh, you did? Okay. I didn't know you did that.
All right, with no comments, any other discussion from staff?
No, that's it from staff.
And no public testimony. With that, we will close the public hearing and move on to item B, the adoption of ordinance 2018-1 for the Rosamond Community Services District. Would I get anybody for a motion?
I'll move that we adopt the ordinance with the one change, which says whereas on April 19, 2016, something happened rather than 2019, because that hasn't happened yet.
Second.
That was our crystal ball.
Motion was given by Mr. Lansguard, seconded by Mr. McKay. Any discussion? On public comment. With that, I'll ask the board secretary for a roll call.
Vice President Williford,
Aye.
Director Lansford,
Aye.
Director Glenn,
Yes.
Director McKay,
Yes.
President Schimmelbecker.
Yes,
And
unanimous. Moving on to new business. NB1, approve a work order for Kennedy Jenks, master water plan and sewer master water plan. Mr.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes, Mr. President. As we discussed last time, we brought up the, doing the appropriations to actually do these projects, and that was, we moved $350,000 from the CIP over to the consultants. And it was suggested that I look into it to make sure that that was a good contract for what they were talking to. I talked to some other GMs within the area that have, are engineers themselves also, and have done these projects, and they said, yeah, that seems like within range, but you might be able to get them to cut some money off. And so I did talk with them. We went through what Brock has already done with our systems, and also by doing the two projects together. So the total price is down to, it's $289,000, down to $289,625. And so I said that I would come back to you with the work order so you could approve it. And you can see the work order is quite extensive. This engineering company is really well known. It's the one that did the IRWIP plan here in the valley, the consolidation for all the different agencies. It's done stuff for Little Rock Creek. It's also done stuff for AVAC, and it's a good firm. And staff has looked at this Brock and John has looked at the extensive work order that they're doing, and so they're gonna be modeling our whole system, taking a full assessment about it, and then also doing a model that no matter what kind of impact we have, we can always plug it into this computer model in the future and find out, how many more lines, how many more pumps do we have to increase, how many more tanks and wells. So it's, staff is recommending that you adopt it.
I had a question. Both the future demands for both the water and the sewer has a false premise in it. Are we doing anything to correct that?
This is just a task order, so when they finally do it, we'll look at the work that they actually do, and we'll look at the assumptions.
Well, the future demands is, it claims that we're gonna have 19,912 people in Rosamond in 2040. We're already there now, and this is 24 years ahead of time.
They're going off of our, urban water management plans and the plans that
I
were
know
already.
that's what the plan says, but do we keep repeating something?
No, we'll look through that and we'll change that. We'll fix the assumptions.
Okay.
They're just doing that to give an estimate of like what the work order is gonna be like, but all the technicalities and stuff will be working through. So they were working off of the master plans that we already have, and also our urban water management plan and our MSR. I give them all our documents, and also from the arsenic consolidation standpoint too. They have those documents also.
How old is the water master plan, the sewer master plan that we have right now that we're working on?
It was written in 2014. And it was very poorly done.
And we're having,
No
water and
computer
sewer
model.
master plans, we're also having within that, we're having a separate thing for a rate study, that's separate?
Correct, those are two different issues. Ones are the master plans and the other are the impact fee studies. And I already have estimates on those from our consultant that we do a lot of work with, that does the street lights and our assessment districts and stuff from NDS, and they're probably gonna be able to come down to maybe about 37,000 for both, which is right within range.
37,000 each?
Well, I talked to other agencies, and they were gonna charge anywhere, close to $40,000 a piece, and NBS came down to about 20,000, might be able to do it at 1918 a piece.
Oh, really?
Yes,
Very cool.
because we have a good relationship with them, and they'll package it all together.
Any other questions?
Well, when they do that, they're not gonna rely exclusively on the urban water management plan?
What's that?
Are they gonna use the urban water management?
No, they're
plan?
gonna be, no, they're
They use real numbers?
right.
That's all.
And the urban water management plan has some real numbers in it also. Because when you're talking about 19,000, you're not talking about the RCSD, you're talking about Rosamond Community. So you have to, they're gonna look at the numbers, and it would be.
They also gonna look at it through the arsenic annexation, that's it.
You have to realize that the engineering plan as a basis, even though you make that assumption, once they make a computer model, you could have a boom next year in real estate. You could have a person coming in, KB Home or something, say, we want to build 1,000 homes. We could plug that into the model, see what the demand and the stress on their system would be, and we'd say, okay, this is the impact for that. So once we have a computer model.
Okay.
All right. Can we get a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. McKay, seconded by Mr. Williford. Any public comments? Yes. Yes, it could come to the mic. That way it can be recorded.
Yes, good evening. For the record, Glenn Benson, I'm a resident customer here in Rosamond in the district. So I want to clarify, on last month's meeting on Tuesday, January 2nd, 2018, new business item number 4 was approve an additional appropriation of $170,000 for consulting fees for a water master plan, and additional $180,000 for consulting fees for a sewer master plan from the sewer fund reserve. So that would make a total of $350,000. Was that correct?
Correct, that was what was appropriated at the fund.
And according to my notes here, and correct me if I'm wrong, please correct me if I'm wrong, it was 3-2 in favor with directors Williford and Lasker dissenting. Now, if I understand correctly, this evening on new business item now, you're saying the price was reduced to $289,625. Is that, did I understand you correctly on that? All right, thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other comments? All right, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor of approving NB1?
Aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. NB2, appoint Director Lennon to be the district representative at Aqua Joint Powers Insurance Authority.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
That is unanimous. All right, new business 3, adoption of resolution 20-18, amending the employee handbook. Mr. Smith.
Yeah, it came to our attention a few years ago that the employee handbook was not updated properly to cover salaried exempt employees when it came to vacation time and the way past practices have been done. So this cleans up, the auditors brought it to our attention that it's something that we need to look at and make sure that the written policy is in line with the practices that we do and also historical. So this cleans it up and adds a paragraph to there for salaried exempt.
Any questions? Ask for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. McKay, second by Mr. Wilford. Any public comments? Roll call vote?
Vice President Wilford,
Aye.
Director Lundberg,
Aye.
Director Lennon,
Yes.
Director McKay,
Yes.
President Schmidt.
Yes. It's approved unanimous. New business 4, adopt resolution 2018-02, amending the handbook, again, Mr. Smith.
It isn't. Okay, pass on adopted. Okay, on the resolution, there was a typo, so we're gonna change the date to the 6th on that past resolution. It says adopted on, so we're gonna change it to this one. Yes, this is the administrative handbook. There's 2 sections on it that need to be changed. One of them is Brad and I have been working on looking at the reserve funds and how it was written in the handbook. It needed to be cleaned up. Some of the reserve funds are duplicative, and so we got rid of those. One of them was not needed, and then also we have a new water acquisition fund reserve that we use to buy water in the future, so we put that in there too. A lot of the other numbers, and Brad can get more into detail with it for you, is like when you look at, for instance, rate stabilization fund. Instead of an actual number, it says minimum balance be based on 10% of the district's annual rate revenues, right? Rather than a number. Before, let's see, the facilities, let's see, water acquisition, replace and repair. Before it said like 1.5 million in water, 1.5 million in sewer, and that really means nothing over a period of time. So this is 25% of the annual accumulated depreciation. So these are numbers that we can actually calculate on the fly that are more realistic. And so that cleans that up. The other one is, this board has had a policy of electing officers that on election years actually was not in line with state law completely. So, and we've known this from the beginning, but we've been sort of following state law each time on election years, and then also on off election years we did sort of a variation. So this will clean it up so you stay consistent. And so on election years it basically says that you follow state law, 61043, which at this time says within 45 days of an election you will meet and elect the president and the vice president, the officers. So what we're going to do on the off season, on the off election years, is that you basically do the same thing. Sometime in the first meeting in December, you'll get together and then you'll nominate and elect the president and the vice president. So you can elect the same president every single year if you want, or you can, you know, well, Dennis might quit after. But, you know, yeah, so that cleans it up and makes sure that we conform with state law and stay consistent.
All right, thank you. All right, any comments? I would ask for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Williford, seconded by Mr. McKay. Any public comment? Roll call vote?
Vice President Wilford,
Aye.
Director Lundberg,
Aye.
Director Lennon,
Yes.
Director McKay,
Yes.
President Schmidt.
Yes. It's unanimous. All right, we'll move on to NB5. Regional California Department of Public Health Arsenic Compliance Project. Mr. Smith.
Yes.
We did NB4 as well then?
We just got done doing ND4. That was the administrative handbook.
Okay.
Okay, so NB5, this is the last two documents that need to be done in the CEQA process for the arsenic consolidation that's going to LAFCO. And some of this was done before the publications. Remember that we did the 30-day review. And come back, a lot of times you're gonna have people coming back and making comments, so there wasn't that. So this is the mitigated negative debt and also the mitigation monitoring reporting program. Once we pass these tonight, I have another document that I'm going to sign, which is called an NOD, and we'll ship everything up tomorrow to LAFCO up in Kern County, and then they'll go through the rest of the process and finish the annexation of those 8 facilities or systems that we're going to be adopting. Mr. McKay has found 3 errors, so I don't have my sheets with me, I got them on my desk, but they call us the city of Rosamond in 2 different places. So we're going to correct that. One should say RCSD and the other should say Kern County. And then there's also the, what's the third error?
The third error was that the district was west of 14.
Right, and I called the consultant and said, we're on both sides of the 14. So they're going to have to say both sides of the 14, or some if you give me the ability to adopt this in, Allison, can I fix the language, or do we have the specific language tonight?
Well, it can say that. The city
The
can-
motion can be to approve the resolution with the corrections noted. So correcting the items noted, which are the reference to the city of Rosamond, the reference to the location of Rosamond.
Right, the location, does it have to have the exact language for, okay, just correct it, so.
The quickest way to correct that is just say that the district office is west of the 14,
District
and it
office.
is.
Well, they want to talk about where the project, the
It
whole
does,
project
it
is.
says negative deck, just make it on both sides of 14. I see it on page 2.
And I think,
Most of them are under environmental, section A, environmental checklist, page 2.
I think where they got confused, and you might be over there, is the projects themselves are west of the 14, not the district. So I think
we
you
have a
say.
couple, we have a couple east of the 14.
We do?
Isn't there a mobile home park we're bringing in?
We have one.
Okay,
yes.
one, we have one.
Yeah.
We'll fix it.
All right, we'll move on.
Resolution 2018-3 as read would be in corrections specifically to where the city of Rosamond mentioned should be the community of Rosamond. And the district is located on both sides of Highway 14. Both are on section 8 environmental checklist, page 2. But wherever else that may appear in the document, those corrections should be made as well. That Rosamond is not incorporated and that the district is located on both sides of Highway 14. Is there any other corrections, Mr. McCabe?
Just
I think it's it.
Those were the 2 main areas. And that would be my motion.
Call for a second.
I think I want to second that one.
Okay, a modified motion made by Mr. Lansgard for adoption of resolution 2018-3, seconded by Mr. Williford. There's a roll call vote. Any comments from the public? With that, I'll ask for roll call vote.
Vice President Wolford,
Aye.
Director Langsford,
Aye.
Director Glennon,
Yes.
Director McKay,
yes.
President Schimmelbecker.
Yes.
And
It's unanimous. Moving on to item B, adoption of resolution 2018-4. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Williford, seconded by Mr. McKay. Any public comments? No public comments, I'll ask for a roll call vote.
Vice President Wolford,
Aye.
Director Langsford,
Aye.
Director Glennon,
Yes.
Director McKay,
Yes.
President Schimmelbecker.
Yes. All right, we'll move on to director's reports and comments for future agenda items. Mr. Glennon?
I attended the Water Master meeting on January the 24th. On the 28th, it was a front page above the fold about the Water Master meeting. And I'm just going to give you 2 things, and Mr. McKay was there also, and he can probably add to what I'm going to say. The draft application for drilling any new or replacement wells was being discussed, and they don't have one yet, it's just a draft. And as of that meeting, there were 19 people who want to drill a well, but they can't because they don't have the permission from the water master because the basin is adjudicated now. And of those 19 applicants, 8 will be having their wells drilled by Bryant Pump and Well Drilling, which is in Rosamond. And there was a couple there that actually are building a house in Rosamond. In fact, their house is built and everything's done, except they don't have a well, and it's costing them more money and time. They really need to just, I don't know why we need to create a whole new document, but they need to get that done, the application for drilling wells. And they're supposedly gonna, next meeting, have one that what they will vote on. Then, at the State of the County meeting in Bakersfield on the 31st, it was a good time to socialize with other directors. You may not, excuse me, you may not realize this, but I don't see these other 4 men during the week, ever. Seldom. Occasionally I might see one across from Albertson somewhere. We don't socialize at all. And this is a good time to do that. We weren't discussing business, we were socializing. Got to meet Dennis's wife. It's a good time for the directors to be together and realize we are really human beings. Because I don't spend time with Olaf, he doesn't spend time with me, I don't spend time with Director McKay. So it's a good time for us to get together and to visit and talk with other elected officials in the county. I do have one observation, kind of with a bitter tone, about the state of the county. Grimway Farms established an excellent private school providing grants in the Bakersfield area, and they really appreciate it. And Grimway is going to open another school in Bakersfield with grants. For Rosamond, Grimway sued us. And we've been in a suit with Grimway for 15 years. So Grimway is making people in Bakersfield happy, but they are suing Rosamond Community Service, or they did sue Rosamond Community Service District.
Next year it'll be 20 years.
So that's kind of a positive thing for the county, but really a negative thing for Rosamond. And I've lived here not all of my life, but most of my life. And the problem in recognition for Rosamond is that we don't belong to Kern County, although we're in Kern County. And we don't belong to Antelope Valley, although we're in Antelope Valley. We're kind of just in limbo. And I don't know what we can do about that. It's been that way ever since I've been living in Rosamond. But thank you for allowing me to go attend those 2 meetings.
Thank you, Mr. Glennon. Mr. McKay.
Let me piggyback on what Mr. Glennon just said. When I first moved here, I called up to Bakersfield. I had a question for the people up there in the engineering office. And they said to me, "Aren't you in LA County?" I said, "No, I'm in Rosamond. We're in Kern County." And then I worked for Los Angeles County Safety Police out at High Desert Hospital. And I called down to get vests for my officers because we had to go down into the city when all the riots were taking place. And I called down there to Los Angeles and told the lady I wanted vests. And she said, "Aren't you in Kern County?" I said, "No, I'm in Lancaster. It's in LA County." So we see it from both sides of there, okay? Okay, on January 9th, I attended the AVAC board meeting and it was business as usual. On January 19th, I went to the Water Master Advisory Committee meeting, and there they talked about the proposed Water Master budget was discussed. And one of the things that they're going to talk about there, or we'll talk about it just a little bit later, is the assessment that was there. And the assessment for the people in the adjudicated area is $5 an acre foot for gratuity. And members of the committee thought that that might be a little low because of the expenses and everything was there. And then on January 23rd, I attended the AVAC board meeting, and Dwayne Chisholm, the general manager, said AVAC's water supply is expected to increase by 5% in February. And I haven't heard that it has increased yet, but they're talking about it. Meanwhile, all of our reservoirs, except for one, have more water in them than they have in years. And yet, the State Water Board doesn't see fit to give us water. And then, Dwayne presented a proposed plan to help 150,000 plus vacant landowners who are without water rights, or water rights land would be decreased in value. And so there's 150, he had a figure that's just a little higher than 150, but it was also with a plus. And what they're proposing is that AVAC will bring in imported water, and they'll go to the water master, and the water master will allow these people to put wells down, and AVAC will bring in imported water, and that's what these people will be using. And it's gonna cost them, I think it was $35.33 a month for water, because they were gonna be allowed to buy 1 acre foot, and then divided by 12, it would work out for that. And so AVAC is looking out to help the people in the community to keep the value of their land. And there is a proposed joint meeting on February the 15th at 5:30 p.m. between the local state water suppliers to be held at AVAC site to discuss the water situation. Then on January the 24th, I attended the Water Master meeting, and a public hearing was held on proposed process and procedures for levying the administrative assessments, and then was passed by Resolution R 18-01. And also a public hearing meeting was held on the proposed calendar year administrative budget and administrative assessments, and was passed by resolution number R-18-02. And on January the 31st, I attended a court hearing on the issue of water ramp down rights, and the court took all the arguments under advisement, and I believe Mr. Smith will bring us up to date on that. That's the end of my report.
Thank you. Mr. Lansgard.
Thank you, Mr. Singledecker. I too attended the State of the County. Just the highlights that I know we all had some story to tell. I did get a chance to meet the speaker. Actually was the sponsor. Rio Tinto had a speaker. I think Russ knows him, so I didn't talk about him. But I did get to talk to other people that are thinking about Parks and Recreation. Michelle Vance is now I guess the director or the manager for the Catchpea Parks and Recreation, which is totally separate from the city, and I guess it also includes part of the county, and they also manage Bright Lake and a few other things. And they have a budget of about $1.2 million to do that with. So I got some good insights from her, and obviously they're looking at improving their pool, I guess building a brand new pool, and also figuring out a way to cover it. So those are all things that we may look at in the future, and another resource there. And of course, we got to meet with Supervisor Zach Scribner, who is basically the mayor of Rosamond. And his wife sang the national anthem, did it very well. And a lot of other interesting people. It was totally packed, and I think a good time and stuff. Everybody else? That's all I have.
All right, thank you. Mr. Wolford.
I also attended the State of the County, and I formerly worked for Rio Tinto when it was US Borax back then. And they are one of the main sponsors for that dinner. And one of the gentlemen there was a young man by the name of, well, he used to be young, Garth Sandus. He is a fixed facility manager, but caught up a little bit on stuff. The speaker of that night was, I think it's
Third District. Yeah, like
and did a pretty good job. And like Mr. Glennon said, they talked about all the things that were getting done in Bakersfield, McFarland, Delano, Wasco, Tehachapi, Ridgecrest, and Ridgecrest is as close as they got to us. So that mountain is kind of a barrier. One other item, for the second year in a row, my social secretary, financial advisor, boss, wife, won the centerpiece of the table. And that's all I got.
All right, I also attended the state of Kern dinner, had a good time, it was a good time to meet some folks we haven't seen, and I think everybody else has commented on, I'll leave it there. With that, we'll go to general council updates.
Just a reminder that your Form 700s will be due on April the 1st. Please make sure you fill them out and turn them in.
Thank you. General manager.
Yes, so, just so for the people in the audience that might not have heard this before, during this water adjudication in 2018, we start the reduction of production. So Rosamond was supposed to go to sometime before the judgment, which was called the pre-ramp down production, which we at one time were producing 2,900 acre feet. And within the next 5 years, we have to ramp down all the way to 404.42. So that's quite a bit for us, and we planned that within our rate studies, you know, that we were gonna have to buy state water project water over more and more over the next 5 years. The one question that I brought up from the beginning, once we were getting a water master together, is what is our starting number? Because the adjudication says that your pre-judgment production is anything that was produced for beneficial use and minus return flows. But they didn't have a number for us, they have numbers for the landowners. So our question has always been, water master engineer, what number do I start with? And we looked at one of the exhibits that became one of the judge's documents, that the findings, that in 2011-2012 we did 2,900 acre feet and 2,800 feet. The Public Water Suppliers Committee, which you know I'm the chairman of, we're going to meet this Thursday. We decided let's use that document because that showed production that the judge took as fact, as a finding, and let's do what some of the landowners did and we'll just average those together. So we submitted that to the water master. Unfortunately, the city of Los Angeles and one of the big landowners said, no, we disagree. You didn't get a start number, so that means you don't get a ramp down. So that meant this year we would have to only be able to pump 404 acre feet. That's about $1.2 million that I did not have in the budget. And so all his public water suppliers got together and we filed a motion in front of Judge Komar, and it was heard on the 31st. And during the hearing, it was pretty obvious the judge was on our side. The city of Los Angeles went up there and argued. You know, I thought it was a really tough argument that they were making to a very, very, very far stretch, right? And the judge started questioning him, and Ed was there. He goes, counsel, were you at trial? I read the transcript. I go, counsel, were you at trial? He goes, no. He goes, please show me in this judgment where it says the public water suppliers don't get a ramp down. Where does it say that, right? So right then, I texted Doug, who was there. I said, we won. Because I knew that was what the judges say. So Monday, the order came out, and yesterday, and yes, we did. The judge found in our favor. So that means, and he left it up to the water master engineer. We're getting together this Thursday, the public water suppliers. It's a closed meeting, and we're going to try to figure out the way to best calculate it if you're including return flows in that calculation, and then we're going to put that to the water master engineer, and so we're safe. So that means we can go a lot longer. In fact, with our water conservation, and if we start with like a 3,000 number up there, close to it, we'll actually produce less than what we're allowed to this year, and that means we can take our water rights and carry it over for another year. And that's all, you know, you guys have talked to you before about carryover, how that builds up and everything. So it's a good day for us for that, and all the public water suppliers. And I think that's about it, except, you know, you're all talking, it's so funny, if you knew Pete Knight, who was Steve Knight, you know, he's our congressman, and Pete was a good guy, he was our senator. He had a map in his office of the high desert county. And it had Rosamond and Mojave, it had part of Phelan, it had a little bit of all those counties, and said, this is the desert, you know, county, but he never could get that to go. So that's all I have, thanks.
Anything for the assistant general manager?
No, he didn't have anything, and so he had a family matter, so I said, you know, Brock has something for you, so we made Brock come tonight.
All right. Director of Finance.
No update at this time. Thank you.
Great. Director of Public Works. Rob.
Thank you. Since the last meeting, Public Works staff has been busy. We've repaired 9 service line leaks, replaced 7 angle stop valves, delivered 311 non-payment notices, and continued with the meter installs. As of the end of the day today, we have roughly 350 meters remaining, and probably 120 of those are easy, and the remaining 230 there will require new service line installs. So we're going to proceed with caution on the rest of these to finish up the project. On top of that, we've removed graffiti. If you drive around town, you see graffiti multiple locations, so we continue removing graffiti every chance we get, but it seems that we're painting a fresh canvas for the taggers, so.
Well, the idea is that if they think they're artistic at all, and you paint over within 24 hours, nobody gets to see their artwork, and that kind of discourages them from doing that. So yeah, we may be repainting the canvas, but their artwork is, they see it as being their artwork being blocked.
I think they need an art teacher.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, they got a couple of them on 2500 block of 20th Street.
I was glad to hear that, and I hope it slows down.
I think 3 of them went to jail and 2 of them went to juvenile.
There's 5 of them going to the work.
5.
You have to realize too, there's some that are artwork, and then others that are marking their territory like a dog or a wolf does. You know, it's just a gang, and they're saying, this is my area. And so you'll see one, you'll see it crossed out, and another gang written on, and then crossed out, and another gang, and they're all fighting for whose territory is what.
But since it's our territory, we need to
Yeah,
white
we've been doing good on that, so that's good.
All right. Director of Administration and Board Secretary.
Nothing to report.
Nothing at all. It'll be quiet tonight. All right.
Let me tag into what you just said, artwork. If you drive along Fellside, you see there's artwork on those exterior walls. And that fellow right back there is the artwork fellow.
Yeah.
If you see it, it's kind of a Spanish motif along there on Fellside. And so far, the taggers have left it alone, which is really good.
It's not as visible to him back there. All right, nothing else on the agenda. With that, with no objections, we will adjourn.